Hello, Hope Church family. It's my opportunity and privilege to share with you another midweek encouragement. And today, I'm going to share with you a portion of Psalm 139. Yesterday, Monday morning, I spent the morning reading Psalm 139 on the deck of my house, and the sun was coming up. It was beautiful. It was going to be a beautiful day. It was already warm out, and as I was reading the psalm, I was just struck deeply by the level of personal intimacy God invests in his relationship with people. And that's what I believe Psalm 139 represents. So I'm going to read the first 12 verses of Psalm 139 and just share with you a couple of thoughts based on that psalm. This is a psalm of David. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. I cannot attain it. So that's verses 1 through 6 of Psalm 139. And really, verse 6, after kind of giving that description of how deeply God knows David, and as I was reflecting on that in my own life, David's response is, such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain it. For me, I was thinking about God knowing me at that level where he knows my thoughts before I say anything. I found that extremely intimidating because I got thinking about all the things that I think in my heart, but I don't say out loud, and God knows those things. And I was very kind of like, woe is me, right? An Isaiah moment. Woe is me. I'm a man of unclean lips, but even deeper, I'm a man with an unclean heart. And such knowledge, instead of, David says, such knowledge is too wonderful for me. I was sitting there thinking, such knowledge is scary. It's terrible. Yet David finds it wonderful. And we have to ask the question, why? Why is this a wonderful thing for David to understand the relationship that God has with him? And I think it's this, because the creator of heaven and earth, God, the Father, would spend time, would spend energy, would spend that resource knowing David on a personal, deep, intimate level. And there are a lot of people in the world who believe that if there is a God, he's distant, he's not personal, he's not intimate. And here David is confessing that he understands that God is personal, God is intimately involved in his life. And the same is true for us. God cares deeply about our needs. In Matthew chapter 11, verse 27, Jesus is speaking, and he says, all things have been handed over to me by the Father, by my Father, and no one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. So this intimate relationship that David understood between him and God, which was his exclamation is, it's too wonderful for me. I have a hard time wrapping my mind around the fact that the God of all creation would know me intimately, right? Jesus offers us the same relationship with God. He says there in Matthew chapter 11:27, that no one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. We have the opportunity to have a very real, personal, intimate relationship with God because of Jesus Christ. So that's the first thing I want to acknowledge today, and I hope it causes you to say, such knowledge is too wonderful for me, just like David did here in Psalm 139. Continuing on in Psalm 139, so I just read verses 1 through 6. I'm going to read verses 7 through 12 now. It says, "Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night. Even the darkness is not dark to you, and the night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you." This last section is what really was hammering me yesterday as the sun was coming up, as I was contemplating my own sin, my own sinful heart and tendencies, as I was thinking about the times in my life where I felt as though I was in the darkness or I was in the deepest parts of the sea. What David says here is true. Verse 10, "Even in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me." And that's what I want to encourage you with today. The darkest nights are not dark to God, our Father. The deepest parts of the sea, right? Maybe you feel as though you're drowning in the storms of life. Even the deepest parts of those seas, they're nothing in the presence of God. They're nothing in the presence of God. Darkness is as light. The depths of the sea, God created them. So not only is he present, but what David lays out the relationship of God's presence even in those moments. Even in those moments, God is leading us. Even in those moments, it's God's right hand that's holding us. And that takes me to Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. So I'm kind of playing with these two verses here today. They've been on my mind. So right after Jesus says that to know Jesus is to know God, the Father, is to have a relationship with him. He says in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Do you feel like you're in the midst of darkness? Do you feel like you're in the midst of the deepest parts of the sea? I want you to understand two things. One, God knows where you are at all times. He knows the part of the path that you're on in your life. And if you feel like you're in darkness, remember, the darkness is as light with God. In the deepest parts of the sea, they're not deep. They're not so deep that God can't be present, and they're not so deep that God can't lead you and hold you. And the very truth is this, that if you belong to Jesus, if he is your Lord, here's what he says to you who may be weary, heavy burdened. Come to me, and I will give you rest. So I hope that by reflecting on Matthew 11, 27, 28, and the beginning of Psalm 139, I hope that you're encouraged today. I hope you continue to meditate on these things, that you would remember that God is not only the author and creator of all life, sustainer of all life, that Jesus brings us into relationship with him, but he's leading us and he's holding us, even though the world around us may feel dark, even though the path of our life may feel like we're in the depths of the sea. God is the one leading and God is the one holding, and all you need to do is come to Jesus and lay your burdens down, and you will find rest, because even the darkest darkness is as light with our God. I love you. I hope you are well, and we're praying that we get together very, very soon.